Hey there everyone, I'm Marco Couvet, the host of Expat Experts podcast. This video is extracted of a longer interview with Tanya Rose, a Zimbabwean who moved to the UK when she was a teenager, but finally finds herself here in Greece.
If I don't have all the money, if I don't have the big house, if I can't pay for my whole family to go on holiday, if I can't, then I haven't made it. And they just can't get out of that mindset of you can be happy and successful without having to tick those specific boxes. Yes, those are nice to have, but what about the little things like having coffee with your husband in the morning and sitting for half an hour, or talking about shared goals? And how can you, the people that I work with, they inspire me really nicely actually. They like to eat out, they like to travel, but how can you do that on a budget? How can you have Spanish food at home? Make a fun challenge, put some Spanish music, dress up. It's already cheaper than going to a Spanish restaurant.
Make an omelette, which is a Spanish tortilla, 3 eggs and some onion and potatoes. Cheaper impossible, right?
I guess I did it. And get a Spanish friend. Then you hang out with them. How can you creatively tap into the things that bring you joy? And also romanticize the mundane. So that's the sort of mindset I get to. Because I like things. I'm not going to lie to you. I like things. I like nice things. My budget is not going to allow me to have nice things at this moment. So I've got to be creative about it. And that's also why I started teaching people to do it.
And it's not always the pleasures, I assume, are coming only for having nice things or expensive things. Simple things can bring joy also, no? I suppose it's part of understanding or like realizing that something as simple as watching a movie with your partner, or like something without needing to pay absolutely anything for doing that, it's okay. Or doing a TikTok video, it's good enough.
It's more than good enough. Shall I tell you one of my favorite things to do? You see this chair? So guys, there's a rocking chair there with a footstool. You see it's next to the door because I just lift it up, I take it outside, I go and I sit there. My Alexa plays music and I just relax and stare. I actually schedule on my calendar horizontal time, feet up and just relax. And it just brings me joy. Sometimes music, sometimes I do coloring. My friend got me a coloring book, which is just fun for me. And I know some people are like, oh my God, that's boring. But find your version of what that looks like.
I'm a designer, so I will go for the coloring book all the fucking time. Like, spend a lot of hours sketching stuff and doing creativity. A lot of woodwork also. Like,
oh, nice. Yeah. That's pretty cool. See, I'd love to do hobbies like that as well, or just even finding friends who do it. Because then, look, we're hanging out. I'm like, hey, I'll bring the drinks or I'll bring the food. Let's do stuff with wood.
Yeah, sure.
And then you just learn some basics and you have fun. You're socializing, you're meeting new people, and you're not, there's this stigma around we have to have money to be able to do the things we love. Money helps, and like I said, I'll have it, but how can you get creative about that?
When you don't have it. Yeah. What about the time when it comes to productivity? Like, because a lot of people understand productivity, and I think I actually had this conversation with my parents and with my dad not so long ago about people understanding productivity with being 8 hours in front of a computer. In a normal office job, actually, you are forced to because you're in the office, but it's not the real productivity. You never work 8 hours per day. It's literally impossible. And the measurement and the accomplishments of the company are never related to you really working this 40 hours. They are related on you doing your job properly. Is that a problem of us? From your point of view, of course, like from your expertise, it's not a problem of us, or it's not a problem of the system itself that we cannot really change? Because even if you coach someone to tell them, hey, the productivity can increase like this, but if they are forced to be in an office 8 hours per day, they're forced to be there. So they lose this part of time anyway. Like, how do you deal with that?
So the organization I work with, actually, Lifehack, they're pretty cool. That's who I learned from. And you get so good at being productive, at getting the results, at doing the things with leverage, that you end up having leverage to be able to reduce your hours. So in the end, my manager was like, I don't care when you work. I don't care where you work from. This, and this is what I need to be done. So you need to build the trust, first of all. And even if you are stuck at work, because productivity, I think, gosh, I'm gonna butcher it, but I think it's like 4 hours a day is the max how much you can be productive. So let's say you're productive, you do your results, you do what you need to do for 4 hours. For the other 4 hours, if you can't leave the office, just scroll on random sites or like see how you can either make your job more efficient, more fun, tidy up your desk, go have a long coffee, like, get creative, make it sexy, as they would say. Like, just, it's not the most ideal if you're in one of those jobs where you can't leave.
I think people does it.
But are they being productive or are they just being bored and avoidant?
That's the main thing. Like at the end, you take long breaks of coffee and you go to downstairs with the people who smokes, even if you don't smoke, because you're forced to be there 8 hours, even if you have finished your job like 4 hours ago. If you're a productive person, if you are just like a person who are not producing and ends being bored because the job that you are doing, you don't know how to do it in a productive way, you also end not working 8 hours. So it feels, for me, it feels like the whole concept of like everyone working 8 hours by default, by law, like let's say like this, and by contract fix and everything. And if you want to reduce your hours, is at your expenses with less salary. Feels weird, because if I'm doing my job properly, correctly in here, you're paying less to me, but you're winning the same amount of money.
Exactly. I do agree. I think full-time should actually be classed as 20 hours per week. I think that's more than enough for you to do the leverage stuff to give your employer the results without capping the money, like you say. I think that should be it. But if you're stuck somewhere where you can't get out after the 20 hours, how can you, take advantage of the rest?
It's still like a very, like, let's say like an advantage that someone who works in an office in front of a computer can deal with. But if you deal with, I don't know, operators of machinery in a chain of productivity, and your job is like operating 8 hours a machine, and you cannot leave that machine because it needs you in front of it, that person is really stuck in there. Like, and their productivity is very capped to not match, because their productivity is really then very binded on these 8 hours of this machine working constantly,
That one, yes. So with clients who are like that, we also have, I've worked with a couple of nurses and that sort of thing myself in my business. And you can't reduce those hours, fine. But how can you make it just slightly better? How can you get a little bit more cushioning on your chair? How can you make your shoes a little bit more comfortable? How can you wear a perfume that makes you feel good? All these little things, they contribute to your mental health and how you feel and what your relationship with your job is. So even if you're there for 8 hours, like for me, for example, sometimes I will have 10 hours of coaching calls with a break in between or so, but 10 hours essentially of back to back to back to back. And people are like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? But like, I set myself up a nice little place. I have a view of the sea, the sunset, with some calls, I can have a nice chilled drink. So I romanticize my day. I bring joy into the mundane. So if you can't reduce it, if you're as productive as you can be with the time you have and your KPIs, how can you then romanticize it? So you move into the lifestyle design related to self-mastery piece.
So it's a part of also like with the self-mastery at the end, it's a part of like loving yourself somehow, but with the productivity, it also enters a part of like trying to enjoy as much as possible your profession or your day-to-day job at the end, no?
Yeah, and not just loving, but actually knowing, understanding yourself. Because I can love myself, but maybe I don't know that after 27 minutes, I can't deal anymore. I've had enough. But when I understand that, hey, this is what my character does, then I'll say, okay, well, at 27-minute mark, I'll make sure I walk to the kitchen, play a song, get some nuts to refresh the energy. Or in those 3 minutes gap, I'll call my mom and tell her a joke, or call a friend and send them anything.
If you liked this short video out of the full episode, you can find the link to it around here and in the description below. Of course, if you are also interested in checking out other episodes, please subscribe and like.